Hi everyone. So today on my other channel, Canadian Studmuffin, I'm going to be talking about 10 artists in the past year that I've become a fan of. That I might have known of before, but I never, for the most part, I never listened to their music, and I become, I think, for most of them, a huge fan, or at least a fan. So please check that out. I'll be posting it. Today's November 24th, so I'll be posting it in the afternoon. But for this channel, I wanted to talk about, once again, because I think I did this before, but things change, 10 albums that, when I listen to them, maybe it's just a certain song, sometimes it's the whole album. They get, the music gets to me emotionally. Sometimes I even cry. And I'm a tough guy. Uh, so yeah, I've ranked these from 10 to 1. I'd be very curious to know if any of these albums do the same for you. And also maybe you can let me know what albums kind of get you emotional. So number 10, I actually haven't played this album very much in the past year or two. At one point, I had probably 20 of his albums. But I guess you really shouldn't, somebody's politics shouldn't turn you off of their music. But I'm sorry, with this person, especially on his albums and his songs, the song titles, just a very big turn off for me. And so I only have a couple of his albums now. And the one I definitely will always keep, and I'm going to listen to it again, but just took a break from it. But this album just is very special, and it is Van Morrison, Astral Weeks. Just his voice, the whole story behind the album, where the musicians and Van Morrison never really. Van Morrison was off on his own like he usually is. And I think and they played the music and he just kind of ad-libbed some of the lyrics. And it's just his voice and everything, plus the music, just gets to me. I don't cry or anything, but I'm just saying it still, gets into your soul. And so Astral Weeks is at number 10. Number 9, the whole album is kind of emotional, but especially side 2 of it. I know there are people that aren't fans of this artist, like Glenn Kellaway from The Basement, but I have his whole discography. I'm a huge fan. And it is Lou Reed, Berlin. And it's kind of a story of this couple. And by side 2, there's one track called The Kids. And you can hear children in the song crying. And it can get to you. And then the last 2 songs, The Bed, which is about this woman taking her own life, and then Sad Song, which is the final song. And it's just a very moving album. And I understand some people don't like Lou Reed's vocals or his music, but I'm a huge fan. So it's kind of, it's one of these kind of depressing albums, but after you listen to it, you feel better for whatever reason. Number 8, I also have all of their albums, at least with the original singer. And this was sadly the real final album, because he passed away after recording this. I know there was one more Made in Heaven. But I consider this the final album, Innuendo by Queen. And just Freddie Mercury's vocals and him knowing he was nearing the end of his life. And then songs like The Show Must Go On and especially These Are the Days of Our Lives. But the whole album in total, it's probably, along with Jazz, my favorite Queen album. So that's number 8. Number 7 is mainly for a couple of songs. But of course, the whole album is considered, at least the first 2 albums of the 3. George Harrison, All Things Must Pass. Possibly my favorite George Harrison solo song, Isn't It a Pity? Just the words themselves. I'm sure most of you know the lyrics. I was going to start saying them, but if you haven't listened to the song, Isn't It a Pity? Check it out. And the other one is, of course, All Things Must Pass. So, yeah, very emotional. Now, I'm not a religious person at all. I haven't been to church in many, many years. Is lightning going to hit me? But, I feel, no, I don't feel, I know I am, a spiritual person. I think there's a reason for life. I don't know, life after death and all that, what happens, but I believe there is something after death, some kind of afterlife. There better be. And, the way I, instead of being religious, I just try and be a good person. Am I perfect? No. But, I do try, and I feel overall I'm a very decent person and a nice guy. I have my enemies, though, especially on YouTube. And so this album, even though it's kind of a religious album, it just gets to me in a more spiritual way. It's still, ever since it came out, it's one of my favorite albums. It is Bob Dylan, that's right, and Slow Train Coming, my very favorite Bob Dylan album. And his vocals, I know he's not considered a great singer, but I feel he can be a very good, even a great singer, and his vocals on this are just superb. And my favorite tracks are I Believe in You and, When He Returns. So I remember, back in 1979, is it? Yeah, 1979, 1980. Listening to this on headphones, and then here I would be, whatever, all these years later, and I'm still listening to this on headphones once in a while. And of course, Mark Knopfler's guitar work on this is excellent. Number 5, probably in the last year and a half, and I definitely want to get more of this person's albums, but it's not necessarily a little bit what he's saying with the lyrics, but it's his voice is so magical, and the album is it would be in my top, I don't know, at least top 50 albums of all time. It's Gene Clark, No Other. It's a mixture of old country pop, rock, progressive rock. It's very unique. It's Gene Clark. Yeah, No Other is a very good title for it. There's no other album like this. Highly recommended. Number 4. And we were talking on a recent live chat about, songs or albums that get you emotional or crying or whatever. And Glenn Kellaway said this album gets to him. And yeah, it gets to me too in an emotional way, but I don't really cry. Well, maybe it has hit me once or twice, but for the most part, it's kind of the artist saying goodbye to his fans and family and friends and whoever. And so I think of it as a positive. He did it as a final gift to us. And it's, of course, David Bowie's Black Star. The one line, something happened on the day that he died, and us knowing, it was only 1 or 2 days after this was released that, of course, we heard the shocking news about him. So, yeah. And this might be my favorite David Bowie album. So number 3 and 2, one's a solo and one's a band album with the same lead singer. And his vocals, he's one of my all-time favorite singers. Sometimes he might go a little bit overboard with the lovey-dovey lyrics or whatever. But, what he's singing, he really means. And quite often his vocals, plus, of course, the music really gets to me. So number 3 is the third solo album by John Anderson, Songs of Seven. Or is this no, this was the second. Yeah, and then Animation was the third, I believe. And some of it's like kind of commercial pop rock, that could be on the radio. But it's the final track, Song of Seven, which is it's longer than the other songs. It's more progressive rock. It's more Yes-like. And it is just amazing. And once again, just his vocals get to me in a good way. And number 2, I could have picked more than one album by this band, but it's just, one album per artist. So I had to pick Yes, Relayer, once again featuring John Anderson, Gates of Delirium, the end part, the 4 or 5 minute song called Soon, the words and the way that John Anderson sings them. And then To Be Over, which I feel is a very underrated Yes song. And it's probably the music, almost more than the vocals on that track. Steve Howe's guitar work, the steel guitar work. So yeah, I've played this hundreds of times. That leads to number 1. And it's not the Beatles. The Beatles, as much as I love the Beatles, I guess there are certain songs that kind of tug at the old heartstrings, but for the most part, I just love the Beatles. But this album, ever since I bought it, every time I listen to it, there are tears, real tears. And it's not just for one song, it's for quite a few of the songs. It's almost like if God, I've said this before, but if God could sing, God would have, not that God couldn't be a female, but if God was a male and could sing, he would have Johnny Cash's vocals. And this is American Recordings 4. I actually need to get more of the American recordings. But of course, this has Hurt. I'm sure most of you have seen the video, which is, once again, very emotional. But almost every song gets to me. Bridge Over Troubled Water is just, I think the first time I heard it, because it's so different from Simon and Garfunkel, Johnny Cash has a much different vocal than Art Garfunkel. So, the first listen was a bit of a shock, but on further listens, it just resonates with you, his vocals. In My Life, the Beatles song, he does. We'll Meet Again. And First Time I Ever Saw Your Face. Yeah, just so many songs. I'm bawling after every song, just the tears flowing. So, yeah, number one for me is Johnny Cash. So that's it. Thank you for watching. Please remember to thumbs up the video. Glenn Kellaway from the basement and I were talking about this yesterday. And, you might get like, 1,000 views, and then you only get 102 likes. It's very important to, if you enjoy other people's content, I make sure I like everybody's video that I watch that I do like. And also it helps to leave a comment below. So thank you. Have a great day. Bye.